in the last 3 years, every FOMC meeting that has had a negative initial reaction at 2 p.m. has bounced on average by the time Powell comes out.
Yeah. When did you decide that you were going to take the gap fill and the data there and say, I'm going to make a company out of this. I'm going to make this a business. What was the thought process in that?
So the way that you want to use this in your trading is to say, if you're a swing trader, price goes in your favor one day, goes in your favor another day. Now it's unlikely that it's going to go in your favor again. So you want to maximize your profits by taking some off the table on that second day, because you should expect that following day to be red.
James is already thinking about this. All right, so how do I convince Austin to pay for my massages through ASFX?
So,
oh boy,
that's crazy.
That is the true definition of time is money right there, bro. What's up, traders? Welcome back to the Day Trading Show. Today, I'm sitting down with my co-host, Mr. James Bruce, and our special guest, Andre from Edgeful. Edgeful is a newer company, not brand new, but newer, and we are trying to get them out to our entire community. What they do is they take reports, real stats, real data for stocks, futures, and Forex, and they compile those reports and all that data into a really easy to use interface that allows us to find statistical edges in the market, hence the name Edgeful. Now, you can guess there's going to be some edging jokes here in the podcast, so get ready for that. There might be a grinder joke here or there, so it's just going to happen. You know the deal with me. But you guys are going to really enjoy this episode. Andre's a super cool guy. He's got a background from Goldman, background at a hedge fund, so he's clearly knowledgeable as well. So it's a great conversation. I think you guys are going to love it. I just want to say thank you to Andre for the time. James, thank you for the time. To our sponsors, thank you guys as always. Listeners, you're going to hear from the sponsors here in a second. But let's get into the conversation with Andre from Edgeful. What's up, traders? Austin from the future. Really quick, I want to just thank our sponsor, Top One Trader. Now, a lot of you have transitioned from CFDs to futures, but I want to suggest that you don't do one or the other, you do both. And if you're looking for a reliable CFD firm, Top One Trader is your go-to. Now, they're based in the US, but more important than that, they actually are still paying traders out. If you go to their Instagram, you'll see last month, they paid out over $100,000 to their profitable traders. So if you want to get funded with a CFD firm that is reliable and still paying traders out, and a firm that actually answers their customer support messages very quickly, and I have firsthand experience with that because I have a lot of people in our community that tell me how it's going with Top One, with any of our sponsors, and everyone is still very happy with the work coming from Top One. Just use the link here in the description to this video. I can save you a good little discount. You can help the channel here by supporting and using our affiliate link, and then you could be trading futures and CFDs at the same time, which I think is a no-brainer. So check out Top One. Thank you for being the sponsor. We appreciate Top One very much. And let's get back to the video. All right, traders, welcome back to the podcast. I am in the building with two very special guests. Mr. Bruce is here, back for another episode. This is two pretty recent in a row, James. This is good.
Popular.
This is good. Getting popular. And we've got Andre from Edgeful in the house. Andre, it's good to have you on, bro.
Great to be on. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure and an honor, dude. I'm really excited to hear about your start with Edgeful, your start with trading even. I'd like to get to know you a little bit better. I think a lot of people are talking about Edgeful, but I think a lot of people don't know why Edgeful has now kind of taken the scene by storm. Now, what James and I do, bro, and this is, I think, why you were attracted to James and myself to do some marketing together at the beginning, was just a lot of it is based in data. And you've compiled a lot of the stuff that we have discussed in our brainstorming sessions all in one place with your new website, your company, Edgeful. And I like the name Edgeful because it gives you the edge, right? That's the idea behind it. It's the data is your edge.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's actually derived from, like, if you hear like the word masterful or joyful or cheerful, it's the same thing. It's just like that suffix at the end, and it's having an edge. And then Edgeful. So that's like where it came from. And luckily the domain was available, so we bought it immediately. And I was like, all right, let's run it. Yeah.
It wasn't because you lacked aging.
I knew you were going to make a joke about this. I was waiting. How long are we into the episode until there's that joke?
Yeah. It's not something that I thought about.
I love it. It's okay. People will say when they see ASFX, bro, they go ASFX. What's ASFX? It's like, God damn it. Yeah. So let's
Yeah.
get into the beginnings, Andre. What's your background? I know you and I kind of talked about this when we first met, but how did you get into trading? What's your background? I know you're in Miami. Kind of tell us a little bit about your story before we get into some of the
Yeah, of course.
specifics.
Of course. So I've always loved the financial markets since I was in high school. Like from the moment that I can like understand what it was, I've loved it. I've been like so attracted to it. I'm like, okay, there's like money in this, like the wealthiest people in the world are in this game. Like, what is it? I'm curious about it. So always interested in trading and investing. So going into college, double majored in finance and accounting, worked at a hedge fund in Boston called Weiss Asset Management, was an analyst there. Very great experience. I can talk about that. I can talk more about it if you're curious.
Yeah.
And then also was an analyst at Goldman Sachs for 2.5 years. Unbelievable experience. Working with some of the best people in the world, obviously, like it's just such an incredible place. And then left Goldman, started to trade. And then when I started to trade, kind of learning more of like the technical side, I came across the concept of the gap fill. And it's a very simple concept for people that like are beginners, but people talk about it as if it happens 100% of the time. So obviously, as you guys know, nothing happens in trading 100% of the time. And I was like, all right, what's the data? Like I have a lot of experience with Excel. I have certifications, like I'm super comfortable. I'm curious what the data is. Like how often does this actually happen? Go to Yahoo Finance, download a bunch of price data, throw it into Excel. Now I have my little workshop. I can see now gaps up, fill this often, gaps down, fill this often, obviously not 100% of the time, but now I'm like, all right, cool. Like I can use this for my trading. I was trading options personally. It's what I always like played with them in college, kind of like, that's where I learned, honestly, like trading options. And then I was like, all right, like very simple. Like if the gap fills for the most part, I can target this area, super easy. So now I was like, all right, I could see this improving my trading. I want to build more reports in this Excel. And once I start building more reports, the worksheet kind of becomes this like horrific monster. It's like not built, Excel's not built for that type of stuff.
Right.
So yeah. And I go online looking for something that shows me simply how often does this happen? How often, what weekdays have the most volume? What weekdays close green the most? What weekdays close the red the most, etc. And doesn't exist, which is shocking to me because I know that there are so many tools out there that like can cover everything that you can imagine, but not how often does this happen? Like, what are the probabilities? And that's honestly like the story of Edgeful, like how we started. I was like, I think there's an opportunity here. This is something that I literally use. And this wasn't like, I used it in my trading. I thought about it. I was like, all right, there's nothing here. Got on a bunch of calls with a bunch of people. Like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? No. I was like, all right, let's do it. Like, and that's Edgeful. That's the story. That's like the founding story.
Dude, that's honestly, I feel like how a lot of really successful businesses start. The person that starts them is missing something that they are looking for, and they go and make it themselves. It's very entrepreneurial of you. Are you like as a kid, were you very entrepreneurial, like about your money, about your business, or is that something you've grown into over time?
I wasn't. I wish that I could say that I had the lemonade stand when I was in second grade and I made all this money and then I went and mowed lawns. Like I just never did that.
Okay.
But it was something that I was a lot more relaxed, like as a person. Like now I'm like extremely, like very regimented, like very disciplined. When I was in high school, I was a lot more relaxed.
Yeah.
Didn't really have, like I always wanted to like be successful and I always wanted to have my own business, but not in terms of like, this is what I'm gonna do. Here's my exact plan, like everything like outlined the way that I am now. And then once I got to college and I realized like, if you want to be successful, if you want to work at the Goldman Sachs, if you want to work at like these hedge funds, like you got to dial in.
Yeah.
And for me, I was like, all right, like it's time to dial in. Like, and then at my like flip the switch, like first day of college. And I was like, all right, like let's do this. And now I'm extremely like very disciplined, work out every single day. Like we'll never skip a day. Like there's something that I always tell myself is like how you do anything is how you do everything.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah. And like if it even goes to like, I mean, kind of like psycho, but like leaving the dishes in the sink. Like how you do that trickles into everything else. Like if you're this type of person, like you live by that mantra.
Asked my wife last night, 9 o'clock. I see 4 or 5 things in the sink, and I'm like, I don't want to do that right now, but I did it anyway, bro, because it's much better to get it done then than have to wake up in the morning and see those dirty dishes. Maybe it's our OCD. We'll chalk it up to just saying it's our ADHD or OCD or something like that. But it's our superpower. You know what I'm saying? It's really what it is.
Totally
Now,
agree.
James, how did you get connected with Andre? And then I want to hear if you got any good stories from Goldman days. Were you doing Goldman in Miami?
No, I was doing it in Boston.
In Boston. Okay. So James, how'd you get connected with Andre?
Yeah. I was going to say about the dishes. You should come to South Africa. We got people that do it for us.
Oh yeah, right. So wait. Did you guys meet? Was it on Grindr? Like you guys met on the? Is that what that was?
No. So actually, I think Andre under the Edgeful Twitter, they reached out to me in December, I believe it was. I was actually back home with Amanda in where I grew up. And they were like, hey, and you want to check our website out? Let's, maybe get on a call and see if you can collaborate. So I was like, okay, cool. And at the time, they didn't have any Forex data, right? For me, I predominantly trade currencies. I do look at some stocks, but I'm more like long-term swing trade some stocks. I don't day trade them, right? Or day trade the SPA or the NASDAQ. So they only had stock data. And I was like, I love the concept, but I just don't see this working for my trading at the moment. So that was in December. And then January, we stayed in touch. And then in end of March, they were like, listen, we're releasing the Forex data and the futures data. And I know you guys were already at that stage moving across to the futures. I was like, our whole community would love it. And then it just grew from there.
All right, boys. I'm finally excited to share this information. The free futures course that I've been working on the last few months is finally ready for you. There's a link in the description to grab this course. Again, it is totally free. All I ask is that you leave me a review. I can see everybody that takes the free course. If you don't leave me a review, I'm gonna come kicking your door down and asking you for that review. Because in my opinion, and this is what I'm hearing from other people, you're gonna watch this and you're gonna say, why is he giving this information out for free? Well, I'm giving you the strategy that has helped me and other traders in our group get funded and get paid out as futures traders, because I don't believe strategy is the only component to getting paid out. It is an important factor in your overall success, but it is not the only factor. And I think that out of all the factors that lead into successful trading, strategy should be the one that you almost would say is the most simple. So I want to give you a simple strategy that's proven to work not just for me, but for other traders. And then I want to help you push yourself to get funded and get paid out. And that's what we're going to do with this free course. So check it out. There's a link down there. Just make sure if you watch it, you leave me a review, because I'll come asking you for it if you don't. I really appreciate all the feedback, all the attention you guys always give me. I'm just here to help you guys make more money as much as I can. So enjoy the course, and now enjoy the rest of the video.
Yeah.
Love that. And Andre, I'm curious, sorry, say that again.
December was before we launched, like before we opened the product, like it was not available for people to sign up at the time.
What attracted you to James, Andre, other than his bald head?
I always like when people are authentic on their socials. Like it's very clear, like through the videos that he makes, like through the stuff he posts, like even like the commentary that he has is something that I was attracted to. And just when you can see the person through their socials, like, I mean, obviously that there is like a disconnect, but there are people that say, my 2000% winner, hit my link in the bio. Like, that's not something that I'm going to be attracted to. Like, I want to see the type of person that's like slow and steady. This is what we need to do. Like chipping away. Like
Process focused.
Exactly. Yeah. And there was a video that he made that was like, I'm taking this challenge, this challenge, like very slowly, trying to like build it up at like one step at a time. Like that's the type of stuff for me that I'm like, all right, like this is the guy, because this is like the messaging that I agree with. Of course, like we're a data platform.
I trained him well.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
It's funny because James has that spills over into a lot of our community. In fact, one of our guys, Ack, shout out to Ack, he is one of the better traders in the community for sure, is in first place with one of the funding companies that James, I think it's Hydra, is doing that trading challenge right now. And one of our guys is in first place. And when you ask him how he trades, it is exactly like you just said, Andre, slow and steady. He doesn't go for big home runs, but he stacks more wins than losses. And now it's put him in first place. He's messaging me. He's up 6% over the second place guy. Last night, the second place guy disqualified himself. So now he's got an even bigger lead over the guy that's now in second place. And he's like, what should I do? I was like, bro, you play defense for 6 days and you lock this thing up and take that first place trophy. You know what I'm saying? Like you want that bragging rights. And I'm sure it feels good. Okay, so that's good. So wait, let's go back for a second, Andre. Any good stories from Goldman, bro? Any good stories from? Okay.
Do you want to hear the stories from the hedge fund first?
Yeah, let's do the hedge fund first.
Okay. Can't talk about specifically what I did there, unfortunately.
Okay.
Their NDA was like super, super strict,
I
but
fucking bet.
yeah, pretty insane, but free breakfast, lunch, and dinner, fully stocked fridge, like any snack you can imagine, like almonds, cereal, deli meats. There was an omelet lady that would come in the morning. Free massages, free haircuts, free dry cleaning, free Ubers home after 8. Private gym for all the employees, showers in all the bathrooms, season tickets to the Celtics, Patriots, Bruins, and Red Sox for like they got like the box, so
Yep.
they would like
Of course.
rotate through who goes.
Yep.
Pretty much like whatever you see in the movies, like what you see in like
That's what it's like.
That's the truth. Like that's
And
actually how it works, and it's insane. Like they have
what kind of trading were they doing? Was it like
long
active day
short,
trading? Was it investing? What were they doing?
long short. So it's not I mean, it is technically investing because like they will hold trades for like
Right.
months, but yeah, long short primarily, and like derivative stuff. And I wish I can go more into it, but I cannot.
Bro, now you know what you're gonna. Now you got James is already thinking about this. All right, so how do I convince Austin to pay for my massages through ASFX? Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the hedge fund
Only
story.
if it's
So
got a
then-
happy ending, then I'll be in.
oh, of
Yeah.
course, of course, of course. So and I think the guy that does the massages here for us, James, his name is Bruce. So it works out really well for you.
Nice.
So when you went from the hedge fund, what prompted you to leave? It sounds like it was so great. Why did you leave and go to Goldman?
Goldman is just like
It's Goldman, right? That's why.
yeah. There's no. I mean, yeah. It's that Goldman is Goldman, and
Just to be able to say that the rest of your life, dude, is like
Yeah.
it is a resume in itself almost in this business.
Like
Yeah.
you think about it, harder to get into than Harvard. Harvard harder to like the acceptance rate lower than Harvard, lower than UPenn, like lower than everything. And like realistically, like the framework and like the complete shift that you need to have in order to work there is so crazy. Like you can't
Why?
just wake up, because the hours 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. every single day.
Yeah.
So you're up 4 hours a day. And like
That's crazy.
yeah, it's hard to believe.
You already lost James on that, bro. He don't even work 4 hours a day, let alone off 4 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah. So 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. every single day, you're expected to be, I mean, and by the way, like they don't ever say this. Like they don't ever say you need to be available 24/7. They will never say that.
Right. But
like
if you're
the
not,
culture there,
yeah.
like, yeah, the culture there, like, like it's everyone else is doing it. Like you better not be the first one to log off.
No.
And 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. every single day, like the way that they work is like they give you something hypothetically on a Monday, takes you 3 days to do it. It should take you 3 days to do it. They make you do it within 2 days, and then on the second day, they give you another one.
Oh,
So they
man.
make you do like continuous analyses like over and over and over again. But like it takes time to do it and like do it correctly and like have everything be like proper and like actually have like a thought behind it. And they just cascade all these assignments like over
It's
and
crazy.
over and over again. So it's like drinking from a fire hose. Like it's just never ending.
And then what made you leave?
Oh, I was like, this is not worth it. Like it's
I mean,
just
what's the average span of somebody spending time there unless they move up into managing partner and stuff like that? Like they must have crazy turnover with that kind of.
Oh, and the thing is that they do, but the opposite side of that is they have a resume pile stacked like as high as a skyscraper.
Oh,
that they're
yeah.
like, "Oh, if you want to leave, that's cool. We have another Harvard kid that's gonna replace you like that.
Yep.
Like we have people that are dying to get in here. So if you want to leave, go, because we know that we're not going to get the best work out of you anyway.
Sure.
At
Makes
that
sense.
point, like when you're like, I'm ready to go, they're like, see ya. Like they're
Yeah.
like rushing you out the door.
Jeez.
So
Any crazy stories from the time there? Any parties? Anything you saw on the trading floor? Any traders
No.
stabbing themselves in the arm or anything like that?
I saw that clip that you just posted. Some guys.
Is that crazy, dude? That was from
Yeah.
the story from in the pits, you know, because they were
that's
really
insane.
thrown. That's crazy. Nothing like that at Goldman?
None of that. Very, very clean cut. Very like disciplined.
I think that'd be the hardest part, dude. The hours I think I could handle. The suit and tie every day, I think is what would slowly kill my soul. You know what I'm saying? That's the hardest part for me.
The level of it's like everyone is so organized. It's like if you like when after like you complete one of your analyses, You put it into a PowerPoint, and like on page 42, if you're missing a period at the end of the footnote, they're like, one of the other analysts will be like, yo, you missed a
Oh
period.
my God, dude. That is insane. That's the culture that.
Yeah, and of course, and like that's the way it should be, because they're the best.
It's because it's Goldman, right?
They are the best. Like, and the clients get the best care. Like, you know that when you're there, you're getting the best of the best. You're getting the best access to private equity. You're getting the best access to investments. You're getting the best access to everything across the board. Like, and they do like everything. They can put you in touch with a lawyer. They can put you in touch with someone else. They even have services. I mean, whatever you can think of, they'll do it for you. It's like it becomes this all-in-one thing where like now they're your go-to for everything. You need a lawyer, you need an accountant, you need a jet, you need whatever, you go there. So
it's go ahead, James.
Yeah. I was gonna say that's crazy. Like, but what did you actually do for them? Like, personally, if you can divulge like that, what did you actually do for them? Like, what type of work?
So I was in the wealth management division. So what we did was like all the billionaires and all the super rich people, like we managed their money. So like we decided like on their asset allocation, like what they were invested in, how what they were based on their age, or like their requirement for money, or like what their risk tolerance was. Like we would update their allocations. So like any private equity that they would be exposed to, we would say like, okay, this is for XYZ, which I can't go into obviously, for XYZ, you should be in this. This is like the risk. This is like the potential payoff. This is what this fund has done in the past. Like, and explain that to them. Any rebalancing that we thought that they needed to do, or that they wanted to do, if they were like, oh, I don't want to be in Tesla anymore, or whatever it is, like if they felt like very strongly about something, like we would have to go and say, okay, this is their exposure to that. We need to rebalance their portfolio to maintain a certain exposure. If they had accounts at multiple firms, which is pretty rare. Now we're talking to like, let's just say hypothetically, like a JP Morgan. Now we're comparing their allocation with the one that we have internally. Yeah. Literally like anything you can imagine relating to their finances, like we were the ones managing it in terms of like the investing side. So like we didn't do any trading specifically there, and like we don't want to be trading like on the client's behalf. But anything wealth or investing related, like we were the ones covering it.
What's up, boys? Before we get going with the rest of this episode, I've got to give a shout out to TradeZella. You guys know they've been a sponsor of the podcast before, but now they've actually opened up another discount code for you guys. So TradeZella is a trade tracking software that allows you to pinpoint the areas of your trading that are holding you back, your biggest weaknesses. But more than just thinking about the vagueness of like, man, I'm just taking too many trades, it actually will give you the specific data behind those mistakes so you know what to improve. And again, I could talk about this for an hour, but the new discount that they just opened up for everybody is a yearly discount of 20%, which is huge. They normally don't do sales at all. So now, if you use the link in the description, you can take 10% off your monthly membership using the code ASFX10, or take 20% off your yearly membership with the code ASFX20. Again, the codes and the link is down in the description. Make sure you check it out. If you're really taking your trading seriously, if you want to be a professional trader like myself and the guests that I have on this show, you've got to use TradeZella. It is a no-brainer. I love Umar. I love their team. This has nothing to do with that. Their software is incredible. It's hands down the most user-friendly, easy to access, easy to upload. Everything is super smooth. The only thing is you not wanting to confront your losses. This makes you do it. This makes you confront those weaknesses, and it helps you turn them into strengths. So check it out. Use the link in the codes down below. Now let's get back to the video. Is private equity a big deal in South Africa, James? Do you guys have a lot of... I don't think so, right? Because all the money in South Africa has left the country and goes into American markets.
It is a little bit, but particularly in the South African markets, it's pretty dried up. Most of the time, actually, with the guys that I speak to that are wealth managers that probably did stuff for you, but on maybe for smaller private boutique funds and stuff like that. I got a few mates that do that. One of my mates actually works for Alan Gray. I don't know if you heard of Alan Gray. So he's one of the biggest firms in Africa. But my one mate works for him, and he always recommends 70% offshore, USA, 30% South Africa. The South African markets are just so dry. Last year, actually, the South African market was like down 12%, but the NASDAQ and S&P was up over 20, so yeah.
So you have to take the money and leave. Yeah, that's good information. All right, so we kind of set the stage a little bit here, Andre, about your background, which is all really good information. Yeah. When did you decide that you were going to take the gap fill and the data there and say, I'm going to make a company out of this. I'm going to make this a business. What was the thought process in that?
Yeah. So one of my best friends is a very successful trader. He trades small caps. So he's like it's a completely different world. Like I trade options, like futures. I don't even know if these like different spaces in the trading space, like actually communicate. But one of my best friends is a very successful trader. So I was talking to him and I was like, there's nothing like this. Like, are you sure, dude? Like, this is crazy. Like, and he said, there's nothing like it. But what I really like when I built that Excel file and I tried over and over again to like make it in a way that was dynamic to where I can say, okay, I don't need to, if I want to put in an assumption or take something out, I don't need, it's not going to take me 3 or 4 hours. So someone like for me, this is like only a few people will understand this, like that actually are very familiar with Excel. Like I can use Excel without a mouse. Like I know all the shortcuts, like I'm super comfortable
That's
with
a
Excel.
flex, bro.
Yeah. Like I know all of the shortcuts, like and that's by the side note, at the hedge fund, they will train you by taking away your mouse.
Yeah.
Because this is totally just like going off topic for a second, but the amount of time over the course of a year that it will take you from moving your hand from the keyboard to the mouse and back and forth will add up to like hours over the course of the year.
I get it.
Rather than just the shortcut, like right here. So,
oh boy,
that's crazy.
That is the true definition of time is money right there, bro.
Yeah. Like you're talking like legit. So it would take me hours to manipulate these reports. And I was like, yo, this is such a waste of time because like some of the reports were like a 50-50, like just didn't really provide much. So I was like, it just took me like 3 or 4 hours to make this thing. And like, it feels like such a waste of time. Like I just can't have this not be dynamic.
Right.
Like I don't want to have to update this every day. I don't want to have to recreate it for another stock. And
especially
like,
in an age of AI when you can automate things and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, 100%. And I was like, I think that this is worth a shot. Like there was 2 things that really stood out to me. When I was doing the research for all the other products or to find something like Edgeful, I found that all of the interfaces for every platform was like Windows 95. Like some dude that's like 65 that has been a trader for 40 years is designing this thing. And I'm like, people that are like below 40 are not resonating with this at all.
Not at all. No.
So the one thing that stood out to me, like as a differentiator for us, is like having a very clean and easy to use and intuitive UI. So the interface needs to be very clean. That was one thing that I was like, there is a huge hole in this trading space for clean and intuitive platforms.
Spot on.
And then the other thing is that nobody does this. So that was like the 2 things that I was like, if we do this and we make it pretty, I think that it'll work.
Something.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, so what was the first person you hired? Did you hire a developer to build the website out and build this stuff out? Or did you hire like, what was the next step saying, okay, we're going to want to add more reports. We're going to make this thing bigger and bigger. And for everybody listening, we're going to turn screen share on here in a few minutes and go over some of these reports so you guys can see it too. So if you're listening on Spotify or whatever, don't watch while you're driving, but make sure you remember that we've got screen share coming here in this episode so you guys can actually see on the inside of this. So when you took the first step of saying, we're going to start the company, we're going to make this a real, thing, what was the first person you hired?
The developer, of course. Number one was a developer, and finding a developer, a good one, is very hard.
Yes.
One of my friends that I've known, who's like a family friend of mine, known him forever. He worked at Amazon, and I was like, yo, let me explain this to you quick. I think that we should do this. I know that he's good. And he was like, all right, like, let's do it. And I was like, all right, I got the domain, I got all the stuff. Like we started building it out like internally to be like, okay, how's this going to work? And now we have someone for marketing too. And like us 3 are the founders. And then we brought on a designer too. So now we have someone that does all the designs, that does like all the user flows, all the UX and UI stuff, like all the graphics that you see. Like we brought someone on because like to us, the quality of the work is very important. So like we don't want to just have some guy on Fiverr do it. And not that those guys are bad. Like there's a lot of great people on Fiverr or like any of those.
But there's also a lot of shit people.
Yeah. And the thing is, once you have like now we have this dynamic and we have like the DNA of the company. And that's very important. So now we have this group and we are working literally 24/7, like Goldman hours now just for myself. Like, and
Yeah, but it's
Goldman-
better because now it's for you. It's for your
Exactly.
company. It's for your future. So it's a lot easier to commit those hours. And it
sure.
won't always be like that. You know that. Like it's not going to be like that for you. You're the boss man. You're going to hire more people. You're going to delegate out. That's part of being the entrepreneur that runs this thing.
Exactly.
No, that's really cool. It's good information to kind of understand the underpinnings of what's going on. And I really like the user interface. I feel like that's what attracts a lot of people to it is it's friendly on the eyes. The color makes sense. The scheme makes sense, the way it's laid out. And I really like how you explain each report. So if it's something I don't know, I've never thought about the opening range breakout stuff, I can go in there and not just see the stats, but I can understand the stats, right? It's one thing to know this happens 67% of the time. Well, why? And I want to go back just for a second. One thing you said, that you mentioned there's no 100% certainty, 100% certainties in trading. And I think that you can highlight that or show that even more with some of these stats, where when you see a lot of them end up at 50-50 or 49-51, very close, you can maybe determine that there's less edge there. But then you look at some of these stats, like your post yesterday about the session correlation. That post I was watching and I played with that this morning. That's super interesting, where 67% of the time, 70% of the time something happens. Now, again, we're not guaranteeing anything, but 70% is a lot better than 50. And then you can start to build off of that. So who do you have on the platform most? Forex, futures, or equities, stocks?
Forex would, I believe Forex would be the least. So in terms of like the use, like our
like
users,
popularity, why are people using it? Yeah.
Stocks are mostly honestly like for the options traders, which is like, that's the way that I use the stocks ones, because we don't have the options data, which like is just not to get into like the option stuff, but stocks and options traders fall into that stocks category. And then futures is definitely the highest, the second highest. And then we have Forex as the lowest one.
Nice. Okay. Let's go into some screen share.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. So let's get into this, Andre. Where do you want to start? Do we want to start with futures, since a lot of the listeners are going to be Forex or futures guys, and we can kind of go over some of the key reports there?
Yeah. If you want to zoom in one more, I don't know how it looks. I mean, I'm sure you have a big monitor.
Yeah. How's that? A little better?
Yeah. I feel like that's just on the recording, it might be better.
Yeah. No, that's good.
So one of the ones, is there anything, let me ask you actually, is there anything that you'd want to touch on that you have questions about? And then I can go into some of the ones that I like to use and that I think are important.
Well, first, you did one for me. So we should talk about the inside bar days. You did the ADR one. And then we should talk about the Forex stuff that James has had you guys do as well. So let's start with this. Let's start with the inside bars on ES. We're looking at it over the last year. And I love that we do it, by breakout, and then you have your standard. So what did you think of this when you saw this after you ran this first report?
I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty shocked at how little. So for just to take a step back, everyone, an inside bar like is an inside day. So when today's range is within yesterday's range. So that means like just for like an example, if yesterday's range is here, today's range is inside of that. So today's high and low is inside of yesterday's high and low. That only happens 9% of the time. So that was extremely shocking to me. But what that also tells me is that you should not expect this to happen. So you can take trades targeting either yesterday's high or low. And that's the way that I like to look at this, is like, it's very unlikely that this is going to happen. Single digits percentages of this happening. So to me, I'm like, all right, like we're going to target one side, just depending on momentum, depending on how price is kind of unfolding. I want to target either side here.
Do you find a lot of stats that have a single digit on one side of them, or is this one of the few that have that single digit?
I think this is one of the only ones, actually.
Because that would be a really good thing to exploit, right? Like this is so glaring that 91% of the time we are outside days. Those inside days are very, very rare. So you can, I mean, look at it. It says inside days that stays within the previous day's range 23 out of 252 days. That's crazy, bro.
Yeah. I think it is actually one of the only ones that is single digits that I can think of.
And make sure that you can also change the date. So this is in the last year, of course. You can change the date on the top right there as well.
Yeah.
So we can even look at this over the last 5 years. Wow.
Yeah.
So this is interesting.
And
So on an inside day, it touches previous day high 56% of the time, which I think makes sense because we know indices drift higher, right? Over the last 5 years, we've gone higher.
correct,
But like, look at
correct.
this one, the 11%, only 11% of the time of those, that very small percentage of time that we are inside, does it actually stay inside the previous day. It's a very small percentage that we don't touch even the high or low of the previous day. Super interesting.
And then the one to the left, actually, to me, is a very interesting one, that the 12%. When you stay within when you touch both sides of the previous day's range.
Right.
So
And
once you
still stay
touch
as an inside bar.
yeah, so once you touch one side, it's unlikely that you're going to touch that other side now.
Yep.
So now you can say, okay, I don't want to target that other side. I should not expect this. Like, I know a very big thing is like a mean reversion.
Right. You should expect continuation, actually.
Exactly. That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, love that. Another interesting one that we did, and we use this one, I think, pretty often, is the green and red streaks. So over the last 5 years, this is saying the max green days we've had in a row on ES is 8. The max red days is 7. I think that that's super interesting to see them both very similar. But on average, we have 2 consecutive green days here in a streak. That's what this means, correct?
Yep, that's exactly right. So the way that you want to use this in your trading is to say, if you're a swing trader, price goes in your favor one day, goes in your favor another day. Now it's unlikely that it's going to go in your favor again. So you want to maximize your profits by taking some off the table on that second day, because you should expect that following day to be red. So maximizing your profits is by, the way that I like to interpret this and the way that I like to use it is, I'm going to maximize my profits and maximize my trades by going for the averages. Yes, of course, you're going to miss out on these home run days, and sometimes you'll catch them, sometimes you won't. But going for the averages is always something that is that will work over the long period of time with consistency, because you're not stretching these trades, you're not having these like emotional responses to anything there.
How about this one? This is the FOMC performance. Explain this to everybody, because this one's really interesting.
Yeah. So this one is, I want to start by saying that button where it says switch to negative 2 p.m. reaction, it's very important to understand that right now we've broken out this report into like 2 separate categories, kind of. So the initial reaction at 2 p.m., whether it's positive, so all of the days that have an initial positive reaction at 2 p.m., so once like the actual decision comes out of FOMC, all those days get bucketed together. And then like on the switch to negative, all the negative reactions get bucketed together as well. Because the reason that we did that was, if you blend them all together, everything just averages to 0, practically.
Sure.
So what this report shows you is, on a 15-minute interval throughout the day, what is the performance? So in the last 3 years, every FOMC meeting that has had a negative initial reaction at 2 p.m. has bounced on average by the time Powell comes out.
Yeah.
When you see a big drawdown at 2 p.m., then in the next 30 minutes or so, you can expect price to reverse back higher.
Based on previous performance.
Exactly. And then that's not, exactly. And that's not as much the case when the initial reaction is positive. So that's how you can use this report.
Yeah.
When it's positive, we carry it higher usually most of the time. And then we sell off at the end of the day, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And you can switch this here, everybody, to dollar change, to volume change. And you can, this, I think this is probably the most important part. You see the volume come in at the open, you see the volume die going into the FOMC. Then when the FOMC comes in, boom, party's on, fireworks, let's go. I tend to not trade FOMC day. Do you, when you trade your options, you don't trade it either?
It's my problem with trading FOMC is that it's not only what Powell is saying, it's the interpretation of the market that you have to worry about. So if he says 100%. Something, but that goes against the interpretation of the market, now you're like, I don't know what's going on. Again, I like to go for the averages. I like to go for consistency. Yes, of course, there are 1,000% moves with the options on FOMC days. I'm okay missing those, because for the most part, you're not going to catch those 1,000% movers.
100%. Do you ever look at the performance by weekday? Do you ever look at this?
This was actually a request. Personally, I don't look at that one. This was a requested report by one of our users. So just for everyone watching, that button on the top, the new report ideas, we will build custom reports for free. And it's not going to be free for long, just so you know. But currently, we are building custom reports. So if you have an idea, like Austin, like James had asked us, can you build this out? and we've built it out. So that inside bars one is an example of one.
Let's look at this market correlation, market session correlation. I think this one will
This
be interesting.
one is a very interesting one.
Why are we lagging a little bit? There we go. All right. So now let's go 5 years and see what we can pull, because I didn't look at this yet. I looked at just the year to date. So let's pull this. So explain to everybody while this is loading, market session correlation.
So I don't know what's going on with this load time, but you want to switch to the 1 year?
Yeah, let's go to the 2 year. Maybe that one will work.
What's
Maybe
going on?
Not got enough data. Yeah, the 1 year comes up. Okay.
Okay. All right. Gonna look.
Andre's like, fuck, now I got to fix that.
Yeah, now I'm like, oh shit.
It's okay.
So what this report shows you, this is super interesting, and I was honestly shocked by the results when we built this out. But I was curious about what is the correlation between the London session closing in a certain direction, whether it's green or red, and then the New York session closing green or red. So what you can see to the left, that bar to the left over there, the title of that bar says London closed green. So for every time that the London session closed green, 71% of the time, New York has also closed green. So now trading that New York session, let's say you're in the US, you trade that New York session, you don't really trade London. Now you can say, what happened in London? That's going to be a huge bias for me to say, okay, if London closed green, I'm going to have a very strong bullish bias today, or try to look for long entries, because I can expect by the end of today, New York is also going to close green.
It's crazy. Look at, so London red, New York red, it happened 80 times, that's 67% of the time that London closes red, New York goes red. That's crazy. Crazy. Even more. 71, London green, New York green. Now, what we were talking about this morning, though, is the time. So what time are you ending London session here? And will we ever be able to change the time?
I'm so happy you said that. So the times are, this report doesn't have it, but if you go to the, like any of the other, just go to the, just switch to the gap fill report quickly. Just the one very on the very top. On the top of the drop down you were just in, just that first one, because I know it's there. Just click on that session, so that New York session, right, to just up a little bit. Yeah. So those are the times. So right now for that one, we use 2 a.m. Eastern to 11 a.m. Eastern.
Right there.
For that London session. Correct. So that's the one that we use. It just doesn't show because you can't select a session for that one, because we're comparing one session to the next. So like there's no ability to select a session.
Will you ever be able to change that time?
Yes. So we are building out right now the ability for users to completely actually customize the entire interface of Edgeful. So if you like to look at so you mentioned opening range break, we measure it on the 15-minute opening range. And some people like to look at the 5 minutes. Some people like to look at the 10-minute or the 15 or the 30, whatever it is. So what we're going to allow you to do is go in and say, well, I want to change this input. And now it's going to dynamically change everything inside of Edgeful. That applies to the session times as well. So you'll actually be able to save certain session times. So if you want to see the overlap between London and New York, which I know is a popular one, you can do that. You can change, if you like to start your New York session at 8:30 instead of 9:30, you can do that. If you like to look at from 9:30 to 5 or 9:30 to 4, you'll be able to do that as well.
That's huge, bro. That's going to be awesome. Being able to just take more control over that. So what's another important one that you think people should look at here? Should we check out some of these new ones? Should we check out previous week's range outside?
Previous days range is a
yes.
Really,
I'll show you my favorite ones. My favorite ones, Andre, that I like to use is the previous days range. I'll use that a lot. And then, so basically this one tells you, if we take our previous day's high, what is the chance that we're going to close as a bullish day, and vice versa? If we take out the previous day's low.
This is everything that we've always worked on, bro. This is huge. 75% of the time we take out previous day's high, we're green. 76%.
And you can look at it by weekday too, which is cool.
I didn't look at this
That's actually, this is the one I use the most actually, because I like waiting for that previous day's high low to be taken out.
Yeah.
Oh my God. 85% of the time on Mondays, if previous day's high is broken, we go higher.
Yeah.
Crazy. 85%, everybody. Because when you think about statistical edge, you can never get 100. But if I hand you an 85% win rate strategy, you're going to fucking take that to the bank. 85% of the time here, that is crazy. Now that's only over the last year. Can we run this out a little further and see? Let's see if the
I mean, you
two-year
should
will
be
load.
able to run all the reports out.
Andre's gonna get off this fucking podcast and call the developer team. I was just on a podcast and it wasn't loading. God damn it.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
fired.
Um,
We're Goldman level over here.
We're rebuilding the entire backend for this customization. That's why the load time is a little bit slower, because we're allowing, we're going to fix it obviously, but we've rebuilt the entire backend. So now you can select each input. So it is a little bit slower, but we're going to obviously like make it more efficient, because we just did this actually. I think we released it on Monday internally. Like there's no change to the users. Internally, we've updated the entire backend, so you can actually like we're building the foundation to being able to start to pick the inputs. Which, no excuses here, obviously unacceptable, but
it's okay. It's still new, bro. All of this is still
Yeah.
in a way new. This is crazy. Year to date, look at this one, bro. Year to date, 100%. Now it's only happened 4 times that low of day is broken, and we close, but like that's crazy on a Monday.
Yeah.
Mondays are very bullish for SPY. I don't want to speak for NQ or QQQ. Mondays are extremely bullish for SPY. I know that this is primarily futures and Forex, but if you go to SPY, you don't have to actually switch. For every time in the last year that SPY has opened, you'd have to switch to the stocks one if you do want to look at it. But
I know, I want to look at NQ now.
Yeah, for every time in the last year that Monday has opened below Friday's close, 95% of the time, price on Monday has come up to touch Friday's close.
Wow. 95.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy about Mondays too? If you look at the 6 worst days in stock market history, 4 of them are on Mondays.
Oh, Black Monday. Yeah, I guess.
Black Monday, a couple
The
other
one
ones.
a couple weeks ago too.
Monday.
Yeah.
One a couple weeks ago was like totally out of the ordinary. And I was
Out of
like,
the
oh,
ordinary,
Monday.
yes.
Yeah.
So you'll have your traditional trending, typical bullish days, but also 4 of your worst days ever are on a Monday, which I think back in the day when those worst days happened has to do with something going on over the weekend, something happening from Friday into Monday. That's typically what I think it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was another one, James, that you wanted to talk about? You want to go to Forex for a second and look at some of these?
I've actually been, I've got a new stat. We'll get on a call maybe this week or next week, Andre, but I've got another stat that I want to check out for you guys to maybe, if you can develop it for me. But the one that I actually just requested was the Asian range breakout. So obviously for the currency traders, but I think you can use this across the futures as well, I guess. But yeah, this is something that I love, also waiting until the Asian range has been broken either to the high side when I'm wanting to buy or downside when I'm wanting to sell. Go to, GBP, USD or, But I think this is also quite cool to, okay, what is the percentages? Now you can put the Asian range breakout. The two that I like using is the Asian range breakout and then the previous day's range.
Yeah, bro, this is like your trade too. Like, because of your trade with you're retesting off of that Asian range high.
Yes.
If we close above the Asian range, you're thinking, okay, we're probably 70% of the time going to close green today. So let's get long and close green.
And Andre and the team are also putting in where you can customize about putting in like an exponential moving average. For example, I use the 200 EMA, right, Austin, and the 50, right? So you can put it in and see the stats from that as well.
So what would you do then? You would say, okay, if I'm above the 200 and we break out to the upside, how many times does that close bullish?
Yeah.
This is an unlimited thing, Andre. You realize that, right? I want to pause on our screen share just because I want everyone to sign up for this, bro. Your price is really affordable. I know the price you said is going to go up in June, but I know it's still going to be relatively affordable. I want everybody to sign up for this and start using it. But it's interesting because like there's an infinite number of reports. There's an infinite number of if-thens that you can propose. And one day you might come 98%. 99%, when you come up with that one idea, and that's going to be like the one, you know what I mean? It'll be very interesting to see what it would take. Do you have any ideas of like future reports that you think if we run that one, it could be really good?
The thing for me now is the foundation. So the first probably 10 reports that were on Edgeful were my ideas.
Really?
Now it's very hard to think of new ones because I don't have that, like everyone has such a different trading style. Like I would have never thought James's report, the first candle to close outside of that Asian range, look at the daily candle, like look at the daily bias based on the Asian range and the first candle that closes outside of that. Like people have such unique trading styles that I can't even start to think about it because now we have so many report requests coming in that I'm like, I don't really spend that much time trying to come up with my own. The most recent one that I added was one because I trade options, and when I sell options, like I wanted to see I like to start to sell options at 1 p.m. So I was like, okay, what's the potential range for the rest of the day? So then now we have a slider that gives you like the range based on like the time period you select. So from 1 p.m. to the 4 p.m., whatever, not to get into the details, but
yeah, you can
that
get really niched. That's what you're saying. You can really get down into it. Okay, if I'm
Yeah.
going to do this at this time over the last year or 2, 3 years, what has happened at that? Yeah, dude.
Exactly.
This is so interesting because you know what's funny about trading, bro? And I know you're going to get this. People want this holy grail of indicators. Indicators are almost bullshit. I mean, I use a VWAP and
Same.
we use an EMA, but
Yeah.
like these stats are all we are actually playing, right? Because there is no certainty. You could have the best EMA strategy. There's still going to be losses involved in it. There's still
100%.
losses. So these
100%.
type of stats at least help you get into the right niche, get into that right. Like, okay, if we know 70% of the time this is going to happen, I probably want to be more hesitant against trading against that stat, right?
Yeah.
Like I really need a lot of confirmation. Do you tend to be a bull overall with your experience at the hedge fund and your time at Goldman? Are you a bull or are you a bear with your options trading? I'm just curious.
Personally, I am totally agnostic. I don't care.
Okay.
If price is moving in a certain direction, I will try to trade that direction. But also what's nice with options is that when you sell them, you can just say, I don't want price to go below this level. Whether it does this, whether it goes up, whether it goes sideways, whether it goes up and down, as long as it stays above this level, I make money. So if I say, like, for example, previous day's range is a great example for this. Once we break the previous day's high, now I can sell options down here that will expire worthless, and I'll keep that money for myself.
100%.
So to me, if it goes up, if it goes down, if it goes sideways, if it spins in circles, I don't care, which is really nice.
That's the beauty of being an options trader.
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, I unfortunately, I do tend to lean bearish because I do a lot of research like about like macroeconomics and whatever.
It's hard to be bullish when you see the climate, but then when you see the stock market, I mean, today, look, ES is climbing. It's hard to be bearish when you look at the chart, but when you look at the macro, it's easy to be bearish. I agree.
Yeah. I do my best to keep them separate. So my macro thoughts are, I try to trade the price chart as a price chart and not in terms of what's going on. But at the highest time frames, I'm obviously a bull, and then just on the separately as on the macro time frames, like I'm a little bit on the fence. But with options, I don't care if we're chopping around, if we're bullish or bearish. That's the beauty of options, and they're definitely hard to do. But personally, selling options is a fantastic way to, like, the win rate is just so high.
Did you get your Series 7?
Yeah.
So you studied that. So when you studied for that, that's where you learned a lot about options. I was studying for that test years ago as well when I was working at Mass Mutual. So I know a little bit about that.
I took three of the licenses,
Nice.
the 63, the SIE, and the 7.
Yeah.
It's you learn more about options. You learn the fundamentals there, but you learn about options on behalf of a client. Like, how are you going to trade on behalf of a client? Like, very much more like passive, like not in terms of not more like speculative stuff, which obviously it covers it. But for me, like, honestly, YouTube is such an incredible platform, such an incredible resource. Like, people take that for granted, I think.
For real.
Like, you can learn anything on YouTube. If you spend like 20 or 30 hours, like over the course of a month, trying to learn a new concept on YouTube, like you can learn way more than you can imagine. So
100%.
Yeah. I was always familiar with options, and just learning more about like the Greeks and stuff was what I learned on YouTube.
For sure. Can you finish us off with some exciting news that may be coming this year? I know we talked about a price change. Anything that the audience can look forward to? So hopefully this podcast brings you guys some signups, because I'm using it. James is using it. It's something we're talking about on our streams all the time. So I'd love for all of our listeners to also be using it. We recommend a lot of people using TradeZella for trade tracking. I think this complements exactly what we're doing. You know, it's being just a little bit more of a professional than a degenerate. And that's where you got to try to sit on that side of the line. So what do you got exciting coming up this year to look forward to?
So full customization of Edgeful as a whole, which is going to be very, very big, because a lot of people, like, these reports currently are like black and white. They're stagnant. You can't change them, whether you want to see, like, for example, that Asian range report using a 15-minute time frame. If you want to use a 30, you can't change that, but you'll be able to now. The other thing is, some people like to say, well, when did this happen? Like, when were that 9%? When were those 23 days of those inside bars? Like, can you show me those days? what we're going to be building is a table, like pretty much like under. It'll be pretty. I know that people don't like the word table because it sounds like Excel nerdy.
Right.
But we're going to be building a table that has each instance that you'll be able to click on, and then a chart is going to come up, and you're going to see the day of when that occurred.
Dude, so that's great. So then you can even go in and study what was going on that day that caused that to happen, to study that, to know for future. Love that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, great. And now all that I think is going to be worth the small price increase that you guys are stepping in. And honestly, I think, you know what people really like? I think part of my audience really likes the authenticity, knowing the face behind the company, being able to relate to the guy that's running it. Like I've changed my prices over the years. We've revamped and changed a lot of things, me and James. So it's like, I think people understand, hey, they're raising the price, something must be changing, and hopefully it's for the better. You know what I mean? Hiring more developers, hiring more designers, pushing the needle forward that way. So all very good things. So Andre, where can we send people to get signed up? I know James and I have links. We'll put those in the description. Where else can we send them? To the social? Get Edgeful, right? On everything?
Yes. So on Twitter, it's Get Edgeful. On Instagram, it's Get Edgeful. The YouTube is Edgeful, and the TikTok is Edgeful.
So, TikTok, got to get them kids. Got to get them kids.
Yeah,
I mean, for longer, it's going to be banned.
I know, right?
I mean, ideally we can get all the at Edgeful, but currently our biggest ones are YouTube is Edgeful, and then Instagram and Twitter are Get Edgeful.
Good. We'll link all that below.
And then again, if you want to ask Andre questions and that, I also have live streams twice a month with Andre on ASFX TV. So make sure to join me there as well. Yeah.
It's going to be good, boys. This is going to be a good year. This is pushing the entire community in a more professional direction. So Andre, I really appreciate you giving us the hour, bro. This has been really good. James, always good to have you on here. Yeah, dude, always. James, it's good that you set us up with this. We got to give you the credit for bringing Andre into our community, into our fold. And I know a lot of guys are already using it. I think we've had a good amount of people sign up. I think, unfortunately, if I'm being honest, by you showing it on stream, James, it takes away from people signing up, but that's okay. Because I think over time, they will still sign up as Andre offers them more personalization, more customization. If they're nerds like us, they're going to sign up and want to do it themselves anyway. And it's still so cheap. It's worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, of course. And you guys can show it on stream. It's not a big deal.
No, I know. Yeah, we got to get it more known. I think this, like, that was why I brought it up even on Top Step TV when I was on there. I was like, I think that they would like it because a lot of them are data people too. So I think that's good.
Like it.
Yeah, they love it. And I saw you were on Top Step TV. So when you go on there, you got to make sure you talk your shit. They seem to love me because I won't just take it. I'll give it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they're great. They're funny.
Yeah. Dude, Anne Marie is so funny, bro. She loves me. She loves everybody. She's such a nice lady. And
she's
so funny.
Nice.
She's so nice, dude. And it's like to hear her perspective is great. To hear Hoag's perspective is great. Like people that have so many years of trading experience, it's great. I love Andre. I love Dolby. They're all good guys. So it's good. Awesome. All right, boys. We're putting a pin in it. Andre, we'll link everything down below. Thank you very much for the time, brother. And I know we'll talk soon. All the listeners, make sure you guys are subscribed. I don't want you to miss any of our future episodes. We are filming a little bit faster, a little bit more. So we are going to be dropping hopefully every 4 to 5 days here going into the summer. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you thumbs up the video if you enjoyed it. And one more thing, if you listened all the way through to the end here, if you gave us the hour, comment down below on YouTube or go to Twitter and at me and at Andre and at James and let us know any questions or any reports that you want us to discuss and cover next time we sit down with Andre. Maybe I'll fly over to Miami and we'll do one in person and chop it up too, Andre. So we'll see what the listeners say. Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. James, thank you, brother. Andre, thank you. Listeners, thank you. Make sure you guys are subscribed and we'll see you guys in the next one.